Okay, today we're doing a ILS guide with the TBM 930 in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I'm looking at little nav map here, and you can see my aircraft is taken off from Exeter, and I'm flying a route round just to go and rejoin the ILS. I'm making quite a big circuit on purpose, so you get to see what we're doing along the way. So it's flying on autopilot at the moment at 2,000 something feet. We are going to turn back round in a moment, so let's go back to the simulator and see where we are. So we're in the aircraft, and you can see on the map here in the aircraft where we are. Now, first thing we need to know is how we have tuned the ILS in. So we're going to scoot sideways in the cockpit, go and say navcom on the MFD, and we're going to go to audio and radios. So nav1 is tuned to 109.9, which is the frequency for the ILS for Exeter runway 26. So if I wanted to change that, I can just click on it and rekey it in, and I'd have to click transfer because there are two frequencies for nav1. There's a standby frequency and the active frequency. If I want what I've keyed in to go straight into the active frequency, so I could put 10990, if I say transfer, it becomes the active frequency, not the standby. If I just press enter, it would become the standby frequency, and then I would have to transfer it. Hopefully that makes sense, because the radios can hold two frequencies and you can flick between them. Okay, so next thing we need to do, we're flying along on autopilot, so we can see that I'm in heading hold mode and I'm in altitude hold mode, and I've got the yaw dampers on. So, and you can see the heading bug, I'm flying 80 degrees at the moment, and altitude is 2,000 feet on the altitude hold. So I am going to turn left 90 degrees, so I'm going to turn to 350 degrees. So here we go. Turn the heading to 350, and the airplane is executing a left turn to 350 degrees. So we can see that happening outside. See all the beautiful scenery of the southwest of England. So if we go and look at the map, we can see now we're making our left turn. Oh, there's a plane coming up overhead. British Airways 2155 Speedbird. Doing 440 knots at 33,000 feet, so we're way below him. We're at 2,500 feet-ish. So we're turning left at 80 degrees. Shall we see if we can contact the tower? Nearest airport list. We want Exeter. Request full stop landing.
Exeter Tower, Dover Golf. Juliet Bravo Echo Kilo is 17 miles east with Charlie to land.
Dover Golf. Juliet Bravo Echo Kilo Exeter Tower. Make straight in runway 26.
So it wants us to come straight into runway 26, not to enter a pattern. So we acknowledge our pattern entry instructions.
Make straight in runway 26 Tower Bravo Echo Kilo.
So we are going to, on purpose, I'm going to turn early, and you'll see why in a moment, because I want to show you what happens on the ILS. So 257 degrees we need. So I'm going to turn left to 257 degrees. So we're on autopilot still. Whoops, I've missed the bug there. 257 degrees. So if you lose sight of the tooltip on the heading bug, remember that you've got the heading here on your compass as well. So we should be turning to the runway direction, but we're slightly early. We've turned slightly early, so we'll be slightly to the left. I did that on purpose so we can see the ILS reflect that. And the wind is also pushing us. Although it's in our face, it's pushing us left as well. So we're going to get slowly further and further left of the centre line. So we're going quite fast at the moment, 218 knots. I'm going to slow us right down. So I've pulled the throttle back. We don't need to listen to we don't need the tower window there for the moment. So let's drop our altitude as well we're going to aim, I'm rolling this wheel which is affecting this indicator. We want to come down to 1,500 feet. We'll do it at a vertical speed of 1,000 feet a minute, so that you can see that's already happening. Our actual vertical speed has now dropped. It's got to 1200 feet a minute, but it will retrim itself to try and get to 1000 feet a minute. Obviously the wind is kicking us around. So you can see there's a beacon here, so we'll probably aim to get back on track. So yeah, look at the wind pushing us. We're aiming for 257 degrees and the wind is pushing us. It's 20 something knots, 23 knots cross. Well, it's 23 knots wind, but it's probably 10 of that is crosswind. So we're being pushed left, sorry, in relation to the runway quite viciously. So we are going to turn our heading to 270 degrees. So in order to see the symbology on here for the ILS, you have to make sure on the PFD screen that you have chosen nav1 on the nav source. If I say FMS, the ILS will not appear. If I choose nav1, you can see suddenly that's the direction of the runway relative to our aeroplane, and this line means we are to the left of the glide slope. So that's the glide slope. We are to the left of it. So if I was to draw a line from out here somewhere, measure distance, I'm just using this to draw a line on the map, so it's not quite right, but it's good enough. We are to the left of the line. So if we turn to 90 degrees, for example, so we're turning left across the line. Remember, we have to go for about 265, 270 to take account of the wind. So we should see this line will start to come in because we're getting closer to being on the centre line for the approach. So watch the green line and get ready to turn as soon as it starts to sweep in. Here it comes. So we're getting closer and closer to the centre line. If you imagine that line is projected out through the sky. So we're going to turn left now to 265. And we're going to go probably over it and go past, beyond where we should have been. Yep, we've gone to the right now. So we're now to the right of the centre line. So we probably we'll let the wind blow us back. So we've just been given landing clearance. Acknowledge landing clearance.
Clear to land runway 26 Tower Bravo Echo Kilo.
So at this point, we'll get our view ready to start flying in. We can see the runway in front of us. And we're going to turn the autopilot off, pull the engines back, start slowing down.
Landing gear.
I'm not going to put the gear down yet, we're going too fast. So I'm just trying to slow down at the moment. So autopilot is off. And we are now, if I zoom in slightly, we can see what we're doing in terms of the instruments. So we're going far too fast and we're not slowing down, which is a bit of a problem. So I'm going to break all the rules and put the gear down because they'll help it to slow us down. Does this thing have air brakes? Okay. So now we can see what we're doing and we've slowed down. So if we aim slightly right, we can get the centre line of the ILS lined up. You can see at the moment we are below the vertical component of the glide slope. The green diamond is the height we should be at this point in the approach. If you imagine there's a line extending from the runway up through the sky towards us, and we are below it at the moment. But the idea is we will fly in without losing too much height and meet it. So I'm accelerating slightly and I'm flying up to meet it. Notice we're having to aim an awful long way to the right of the runway. So the green diamond now has fallen into the middle of the gauge, which means we are on the vertical component of the glide slope. So we've now gone slightly above it. So all I'm doing now is looking at the green line inside the compass. So if I go to the left, I steer slightly right. I don't keep turning right. I just turn enough right that the line starts to come back towards me gently. I'm also trying to watch the vertical, the diamond on the right hand side of the display to show that I'm not going too far above or below the green diamond. So without really thinking about looking at the runway, I'm just watching the dials and I'm doing a nice steady approach. I'm also watching speed at the same time, so moderating throttle to keep a sensible speed. So all we're doing is watching the markers on the ILS. The thing not to do is to chase them too hard. You just make steady changes to your attitude of the aircraft. And don't chase the markers too much. Then obviously once you get close to the runway, you just watch the runway. And then we're going to cut the engines and begin flaring. Obviously as soon as we touch the runway, the aircraft will pivot because the wind is pushing the tailplane and the wheels touching the tarmac have become a pivot point. So you have to be ready to steer instantly that you touch the ground. Okay, so we will acknowledge that instruction. We don't have to actually acknowledge that, so we're going to turn left. Okay, acknowledge ground handoff.
119.805 for Dr. Bravo Echo Kilo.
Put our flaps back up. So request taxi to parking.
Exeter ground Dr. Golf. Juliet Bravo Echo Kilo request taxi to parking.
Dr. Golf. Juliet Bravo Echo Kilo taxi to general aviation parking via taxiway.
Can park over here. I'll acknowledge taxi clearance.
Taxiing to general aviation parking via taxiway Dr. Bravo Echo Kilo.
Is that guy going to get out of our way? I don't really want to run him over with my wing. So I'm going to stop here. Not very helpful chap, is he? Anyway, so that's the end of the video. Hopefully that was helpful in terms of using the ILS and tuning the frequencies and making sure you're in the right mode. Is he going to walk straight through my wing? No, he's just going to go for a wander through the propeller in a moment. Unexpected horror movie. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Okay, let's stop the video.